The US now, where 2 of the 6 missing construction workers presumed dead in the Baltimore bridge collapse tragedy have now been identified. They are father of 3, Miguel Luna from El Salvador, and father of 2, Maynor Sandoval, originally from Honduras. Both had been living in the US for nearly 20 years. The heroics of quick-thinking crew and first responders are now being praised for managing to shut down traffic before the bridge crumbled. But the task of finding answers about the collapse is just beginning. Let's bring in maritime lawyer Alison Cusack. Good morning to you. Firstly, what has gone wrong here?
Good morning. Thank you for having me on. Now, the Maritime Safety Authority of Singapore has come out and confirmed that there was a loss of engine power. So the first thing that they'll be looking at is under the hood, essentially. They'll be looking at whether or not the generators were working correctly, whether the fuel system was working correctly, whether the electrical circuitry was working correctly, and also the engine itself. Now, for those at home who haven't had the opportunity to go on board a container ship like I have, the engine room is about the size of a 3-story hotel lobby. So you can imagine that there's a lot to look at and a lot to check over.
Let's talk about the Dali, because Australia cited that it had labour abuses, issues underpaying crew. In June last year, it had reported propulsion deficiencies. Should the Dali have been in operation at all?
That's really up to the flag state and the port state and whether they've signed off on that. So I don't have any information to that specific points, purely talking about the efforts of the crew and how quickly they responded to avoid further tragedy in the recent events.
And let's talk about the crew. So 2 Baltimore port pilots were in control of the ship at the time. Does that mean they were local to the area? They would have understood, I guess, that maritime situation?
Yes, so the pilots are usually found in all ports and they have local expert knowledge and they're trained to an international standard. It's the A960 for those looking it up at home. And they have that local specialist knowledge and they come aboard a pilot ladder or a helicopter and they'll come through and they'll expertly assist the crew and captain in navigating the waterways of that local port. So they will be local to the Baltimore area.
Alison, really quickly, you've been involved in maritime situations. Have you ever seen anything like this?
This is on the upper end of the disaster scale. In the shipping industry, there are multiple incidents that are happening all around the world. Last week, for instance, we had a ship hit a port in Turkey and take out 3 cranes. So whilst this is not this is a semi-regular occurrence for us, not at this magnitude and this scale, and on behalf of the maritime industry, our hearts and our thoughts are with the Baltimore people and those affected.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Thanks, Alison.